Tonight's interview is with multi-instrumentalist, composer, and musical educator Adrian Sheriff.
He has studied a vast amount of genres and is an excellent performer in all of them. It ranges from European classical to Afro-American jazz, Balinese gamelan, South Indian classical, Japanese shakuhachi, and electronic experimental music.
In addition to all of that, he also has an amazing vocabulary on the trombone, especially with his effects pedals, which is quite out of the ordinary. Ordinarily, you would associate effects pedals with guitarists, maybe even bass players or keyboardists, but in this case, he does a pretty cool job on the trombone. Let's check it out. Here today we've got musician, educator, and I can see electronics enthusiast, Adrian Sheriff. Thanks for talking to me today.
It's fine, Chris.
For a trombone player, you seem to have a lot of effects. Did anyone inspire you to start experimenting with effects on a wind instrument, or?
I suppose it was listening to music I was listening to. So from my late teens, I became really fascinated by the music of Jimi Hendrix. And a lot of the more popular music I heard used electric guitar with a processing. And as a horn player who played just an acoustic instrument, it was easy to feel left out of that.
Yeah, is there anything in particular that, when you choose your effects, do you think about the timbre of the instrument and what would match that?
Well, that's just a really important thing. In the beginning, I used Guitar Effects box, and I found out that worked fine when I was playing sort of from in that range. It's okay because that's the guitar range. But as soon as you go down to then the effects would just stop working because they'd all be EQ'd so that they would work with guitar. Eventually, I came towards the Moog pedals, which are really useful because they originally come from synthesizer modules, so they're built for the full frequency spectrum, and they're not particularly attenuated to any kind of source.
They're all analog circuitry too?
Yeah, these pedals and the distortion pedal are all analog. I'm also running it through the Bose speaker system, and I'm using a bit of digital delay.
As you were saying about producing the full frequency spectrum of the bass trombone, you'd need a speaker system to represent that as well.
Yeah, that was also a challenge. In the beginning, I was using, I tried guitar amps, and again, as soon as you go outside the guitar range, they didn't really produce much at all. And everything that you played, the whole amp is set up to produce a good guitar tone, which actually doesn't really work with anything, other instruments at all. So for a while I used keyboard amps, which are a pretty good solution, and then most recently I've come to the solution with the Bose speaker tower.
Let's have a bit of a run through your gear. Maybe let's start at the top of the signal chain and move through.
So the first thing is, like a guitar pickup, you need to get the sound of the instrument, so I'm using a Bug microphone that clips to the bell. And what I found with this is nice is you can actually get a bit of tonal variation by where you place the mic. So you can get a really dark sound without much of the upper harmonics, or you can pull out to get a bit more of the bell sound. That runs into a preamp. And then this particular effect I've actually kept on the floor because I like to cut it in and out quite quickly when I'm playing. If I just open the channels up. So this is, there's a natural sound, and then so you can pull it in and out for individual phrases, whereas most of the other effects I'm not so much working on that in that way. And then next is really important is the volume pedal. Especially when you're playing this with two hands, you want to be able to shape the overall blend of what's going on while you're playing sometimes. And I actually run it up into this desk here. So that's let me have a little bit of just the trombone sound if I want that blended in, and I can mix that or mute that channel if I want to. And I've got the rest of my effects chain running off a send off the back here. Then I'm running into it's a new distortion pedal for me, which you heard a bit of before. It's called the Acoustic Trauma. It's nice because it's got two different preamps and then a 3-band EQ. I can actually sweep in and out. It's nice again, it's a nice little distortion pedal that you can tune to the colour of the instrument that you're using.
Yeah.
Then I'm running into a new pedal for me. It's called the Cluster Flux, and it's a combination of flange and chorus. This is like a delay pedal, but it works in very small increments of time. So next we've got a ring modulator. So this has got a sine wave built into it. You can hear instead of just that's just one note. And I've actually hooked that up to this other controller on the floor here. This is my last bit of floor gear. And this is MP201, which is a foot pedal controller. It runs control voltage out. So the last one which I've got active today is the low pass, and this is just like a big wah pedal in some ways, especially the way I've got it set up at the moment. So what it does is just cuts off high frequencies. It doesn't sound so clear, but if I actually let it do it with a pedal, you can tune it right into the note. So you can see that I'm actually cutting out by turning the cutoff up and down. Set it high enough, you'll actually get that other sine wave. This can actually go outside the range of hearing. If you leave it on too long, you'll actually blow your speaker without hearing it. So it'll be a really loud sine wave. I've got a bass synth by them as well, and it says on the front cover, warning, this synthesizer can cause structural damage to buildings. We take no responsibility for any damage caused hereby. Because it's such a huge bass sound that when you go BOOM, you can actually feel the building
Oh my gosh.
shaking.
Very interesting and very inspiring. It's been awesome going over all the gear.
It's a pleasure.
So, thanks for talking to me.
Thank you, Chris.
Thanks.
Well, that just about wraps up tonight's show.
We hope you enjoyed watching, and stay tuned for more episodes to come.
If
And-
you've got any comments
Or
what you-
especially negative comments, it's
About
sabrina@thegigbag.com.au.
You have to stop saying that to people. Okay?
Her inbox is overflowing.
Go and like our Facebook page and just ignore Chris. And we'll see you next week.
See you then.
Good night.